Good morning. It's Monday, December 21st. And today I want to talk about this monumental hack. There's been a lot of talk about this hack. Almost everybody on the face of the earth has accused Russia of hacking, of this monumental hack. The only person who seems to deny it's Russia is Donald Trump. He even criticized Mike Pompeo for saying that the hack was a Russian hack. But that's not what I want to talk about. Yes, the hack was an evil thing and it was done. The question is the act an act of war? Or is it just espionage? I love the word espionage. It brings back memories of when I went to the movies when I was 8, 9 years old and World War II was raging. And then there was always a movie that had espionage in it, Humphrey Bogart in Across the Pacific and Betty Davis in Watch on the Rhine. And Gary Cooper, remember Gary Cooper? He played in a lot of westerns. But in Cloak and Dagger, he was an agent and they were trying to persuade two nuclear scientists who worked for the Germans to switch sides. Yes, espionage was great when I was a kid. So as most of you know by now, the software that was hacked was made by a Texas-based company called SolarWinds. And the hackers inserted malicious code into the updates to the SolarWinds customers. And so for months, the hackers were able to explore the computer network of private companies, think tanks, and the government agencies. And almost everybody in the world, with the exception of Donald Trump and maybe a couple of other uninformed individuals, know that the Russians did it. There's no question about it. So getting back to the question of whether it was war or not, it's really too early to say that it was war. But it probably wasn't war based upon what the cybersecurity experts say. In fact, in order to qualify as an act of war, the United Nations resolutions and other sources of international law require a certain level of force or destruction. And that doesn't appear to have happened in this particular case. There's no physical evidence. There's no wreckage. There's nothing lying on the ground. But one could argue that the stealing of vital information is a form of destruction. But right now, we're not going down that route to declare this a war. See, war implies death and destruction. Well, we don't know if there was any real death, but one could say that the destruction of these computer systems, they did not physically disappear, but one could argue that they were essentially destroyed. And maybe, they have to be built. So how do you think that fits into whether this was really an act of war or not? Or whether it was, as my favorite word says, espionage. Now, it appears that this attack was carried out to steal sensitive U.S. information, and therefore it should be viewed as espionage and not war. As much as we don't like it, many experts say it's just espionage. So this act of hacking could only have been viewed as war if it caused some physical destruction. Now, it's possible that you could write a piece of software that hacked and then destroyed your computer system. Then that would probably be considered an act of war. But since there was no physical destruction, this is still espionage. So we shouldn't be looking at this as innocent victims. And we know as far back as 2015 that the Chinese have been hacking also. And probably the North Koreans have been hacking also. But we're the United States of America. And let us not play this stupid game like we're innocent. We're probably out there hacking with the best of them. There's no question in my mind that we, the United States of America, also hack and carry out acts of espionage. So maybe it's a tit-for-tat thing. Maybe we've gotten more information than they have. Then that would be a good thing, right? Or maybe they've gotten more information than we have, and then that would be a bad thing. Now, there was a serious hack in 2017 which shut down the Maersk's shipping corporation and some other global corporations. Now, that could have seriously been considered an act of war. Now, it probably cost them several $1 million to get everything straightened out, but nobody was really injured. So, and would we go to war over something that cost the corporation a couple of $1 million? I think that would have been seriously stupid. So it just goes down filed in the record book somewhere that this could have been an act of war. Now the big question in my mind is, what do we do about this? We tighten up our security and everything, but do we sit around with our hands in our pockets? As pleasant as that might be, we can't respond with an act of force because there was no force perpetrated upon us. So we kind of sit here diddling around. We have to come up with a diplomatic solution. That's the only thing we can do. We can't go bomb somebody because they hack, or they'll bomb us because we hack. So hacking is a way of life, and we just have to gather up the brightest minds in this country and produce the greatest hackers in the world. That should be our answer. We should have an army of the greatest hackers in the world. And we should do a better job than these people are doing. Although I got to admit they did a pretty good job because this thing was not uncovered for several months. So we need to not only become much better hackers, but we need to be much better defenders. And defending is much more difficult than the hacking itself. So I will leave you with that, and I see you in the morning. Bye.